For Ada and Agnieszka, it's natural that they have higher salaries than their husbands. This has been the case since the beginning of the marriage. However, their parents cannot accept this fact. Mother-in-law loves to look into our wallet, specifically our son. She often asked him to change his job for a better one because it is not appropriate for a man to earn less than a woman, summarizes the views of the mother of the 32-year-old husband. Can such criticism destroy a relationship? The problem arises when a man's self-esteem is not stable, but low and uncertain, comments the psychologist. Ada earns more than her husband, which does not please her mother-in-law. The times have changed. Today, women also hold leadership positions. The in-laws don't seem to notice it, says the young wife about the old-fashioned views of her husband's parents. For my mother, my husband's earnings are pennies. She's disappointed that we haven't gotten our own apartment yet. Of course, she blames my spouse for her low creditworthiness, says Agnieszka, who earns almost twice as much as her husband. The partners of both 30-year-olds do not care about the malicious remarks of loved ones. However, according to the psychologist, long-term criticism can affect the partner's self-esteem. A man can put on different masks and pretend that he doesn't care, but deep down, it can destroy him. Especially since, stereotypically, the man should provide the family with financial security, so when a woman earns more, she can take away from his masculinity. The psychologist comments on the meddling in the finances of young couples. Ada and Agnieszka have been living in successful relationships for years. They don't complain about their work. Both earn twice as much as their husbands. Yet, they hear unfavorable comments from their partners and the older generation. Why do in-laws comment on the disparity in earnings of a young married couple? And if he lets you go with the bags? Ada's marriage has been going very well for 5 years. The couple met while still in college. She quickly made the decision to get married and start a family. Today, Ada and her husband are the happy parents of 1-year-old Helena. They both have steady jobs. Adam works as a teacher, and Ada runs her own law firm. So everything is going their way. But not mother-in-law. It is mainly her son's earnings that bother her. She's the one who keeps punching him in the stomach. He loves to look into our wallet, and more specifically, his son. She often asked him to change his job for a better one because it is not appropriate for a man to earn less than a woman, the lawyer quotes her husband's mother. Her opinion is also shared by her father-in-law. He was setting Adam as an example for his younger brother. He has his own construction company, where his wife deals with accounting. He is not financially dependent on anyone, and so are you. And how will he let you go with the bags? I don't like it, recalls the words Ada's father-in-law said to his husband on Christmas. The young couple is not going to part. Nor can he complain about his financial situation. The fact is that Ada earns much more than her husband. Even twice. However, this disproportion in earnings has never been a cause for argument or shame. Spouses split the house fees in half. The money earned goes to their joint account. It doesn't matter to them who made the bigger transfer in a month. The mother-in-law disapproves of this approach. Ada's husband grew up in a small town. His mother never worked. She took care of the house and raised children. Only my father earned money. Certainly, this traditional division of roles influenced the mother-in-law's views. Times have changed. Today, women also hold leadership positions. The in-laws don't seem to notice it. She comments on the opinions of her husband's family. Fortunately, Ada's partner is more progressive than her relatives. Husband laughs that his paycheck can only buy diapers. The mother-in-law says straight that it's cold. He doesn't make much money at school. But he loves what he does. Just like me, we repay the loan together, and we do everyday shopping together. We don't live under one roof as singles, just as a couple, a family. Everything we have is shared. Money too. The more I do not understand the claims of the in-laws, the sums up the 32-year-old wife and mother. My daughter married a poor man. Agnieszka also has a joint account with her husband. Even before the wedding, she heard from her mother that Marek was not a suitable candidate for a husband. I come from a medical family. They all work in healthcare. So my mother secretly hoped I would marry a doctor, with whom I would later run a practice, like her and my father, says the 30-year-old family tradition. However, she chose a different path. She became a dentist and married a translator. They live away from their parents and in-laws. Despite this, Agnieszka often listens to critical remarks about Marek's profession. For my mother, my husband's earnings are pennies. She's disappointed that we haven't gotten our own apartment yet. Of course, he blames my spouse for his low creditworthiness, complains the young wife. Her mother never directly told her son-in-law what she thought about his earnings. However, this topic reigns at the family table during the holidays. My daughter married a poor man, she said on Christmas Eve to her Aunt Agnieszka, sitting beside her. Fortunately, her husband was in the kitchen at the time. Thank God he didn't hear it. He would be sorry for sure. He likes my family and thinks it works both ways, confesses the 30-year-old. Agnieszka's sister is not as discreet as her mother. Once, she commented on my purse on New Year's Eve. You can see that it wasn't cheap. You probably bought it yourself. Your husband can't afford Michael Kors. He quotes the words of his younger sister. How did Mark react? We are in the 21st century. After all, I will not tell my wife how to wear it, he replied to his sister-in-law. I'm lucky that Adam doesn't care about any criticism. He says they don't care. But I know it bothers him deep in his heart, says Agnieszka. Her family's wrath is why they rarely go to her hometown. Mark's is much more frequent. They don't care about our account balance. They ask about us, not about our earnings. The mother-in-law is lovely, not painfully honest, like my mother, a young wife who compliments her husband's family. It doesn't move him. Finance is a topic that can be a cause for argument, but it doesn't have to be. All issues related to the household budget should be discussed only by partners. Third-party reviews, especially critical ones, can only have negative consequences. If a man who earns less than his partner has always been genuinely self-confident, has a high level of self-esteem, and thus his self-esteem is stable, then critical comments from other people should not significantly affect it. Comments psychologist Zuzanna Kedzierska. However, it looks different when such criticism from the couple's relatives is long-term. The problem arises when this self-esteem in a man is not stable but lowered and uncertain. Very often, it happens that high self-confidence is faked. Often people may not even realize that what they consider to be their own self-confidence and, thus, high self-esteem are only appearances of the so-called putting on a mask. In this case, repeated words of criticism are destructive towards the man and increasingly lower his self-esteem. A man can still wear different masks and pretend that he doesn't care, but deep down, it can destroy him. Especially since it is stereotypically a man who should provide the family with financial security, so when a woman earns more, she can take away from his masculinity, the expert assesses. The psychologist also talks about the extreme reactions of the partner, who is notoriously subjected to criticism, and his professional situation significantly affects his self-esteem. Hidden or masked low self-esteem of a man can even take dangerous forms that will destroy the relationship through, for example, psychological violence, excessive jealousy, controlling the partner, etc., warns Zuzanna Kedzierska. We should be one team. How to talk about finances with a partner who earns less. We must realize that as a couple, we are one team that should play toward one goal, i.e., plan the budget together, and not, for example, compete for who has more on the account, advises the expert. At the same time, it encourages partners to be completely honest. It is not worth hiding your expenses, debts, or loss of income source from your partner, as well as waiting until the last minute to notify about any financial difficulties. The sooner we tell about them, the better for us and our relationship. Procrastinating to talk about problems makes it harder and harder to tell the truth, and hurts your partner more. As a result, we can lose mutual trust, cause financial insecurity, and seriously damage the foundation of a relationship. The expert also emphasizes that there is no distinction between my and your problems in a relationship. They are always shared. Finance too. When discussing the household budget with a partner, we should not blame him for not earning enough. For example, because of him, The psychologist warns that our family has financial problems, unless he is hiding something from us. Honesty is the most important thing. Let's talk about finances with mutual understanding, respect, and openness from the beginning of the relationship. Without placing responsibility on only one partner, but setting goals and priorities together, advises Zuzanna Kedzierska.